The stars burned cold and distant as Captain Park Do-hyun stood at the observation window of Research Station Horizon's Edge. He watched the darkness between worlds and thought about how small humans really were in this vast universe. Humanity had spread to 12 star systems, but they were still new to space, still learning, still considered weak by the older species. That was about to change. The alarm screamed through the station. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Do-hyun ran to the command center, his boots heavy on the metal floor. Lieutenant Kim Yuna was already there, her fingers dancing across control panels. "Distress signals," she said without looking up. Hundreds of them, coming from the Velhari system. Do-hyun felt his stomach drop. The Velhari were a peaceful species, gentle telepaths who had never hurt anyone. They were known across the galaxy for their art, their music, their kindness. "Show me," he ordered. The screen filled with images that would haunt him forever. The Velhari homeworld was burning. Ships covered the sky like locusts, and the attackers were something from nightmares. Tall, twisted creatures with skin like shadow and eyes that glowed with hungry fire. Demons. The demon Imperium had finally come to this part of the galaxy. Every species knew about the demons. They had conquered over 200 worlds. They fed on fear and despair. No one had ever successfully fought them. Species either surrendered or died. Most surrendered because the demons were masters of psychological warfare. They could reach into minds and find the deepest terrors. They could make fear so strong that entire populations would simply give up. The Velhari had fallen in less than a day. "More signals coming in," Yuna reported. Her voice was steady, but Do-hyun could see her hands shaking slightly. She was scared. They all were. Refugee ships. Thousands of them. Velhari, Kordani, Tasseri. They're all running toward human space. And behind them? Demon Advance Fleet. They'll reach our borders in 6 hours. The communication screen flickered. A message from Earth, from the United Earth Coalition Command. Do-hyun already knew what it would say. Admiral Song's face appeared, tired and afraid. "All stations are ordered to evacuate. We cannot fight the Demon Imperium. Our fleet is too small. Our weapons are too primitive. We will attempt diplomatic contact and hope for mercy. All personnel will." Do-hyun cut the transmission. Yuna stared at him. "Sir?" "There's a demon scout ship," he said slowly, reading the sensor data. "It just captured a refugee vessel. Life signs show. Mostly children. Velhari children." The command center went silent. Everyone understood what would happen to those children. The demons would keep them alive but broken. They would feed on their fear for years. Maybe decades. "Sir, our orders," someone started. "I know our orders." Do-hyun turned to face his crew. "I'm asking for volunteers. We're going to take a shuttle, board that scout ship, and bring those children back. Anyone who wants to follow orders can stay here and evacuate." No one moved toward the door. Lieutenant Kim Yuna stepped forward first. "I'm with you, Captain." Sergeant Lee Tayo rose from his station. He was a big man, quiet, with sad eyes. He had lost his family to pirates years ago. He had nothing left to lose. "Those bastards aren't getting any children. Not while I'm breathing." Corporal Choi Yoonji, the station's medical officer, grabbed her kit. "Someone needs to keep you idiots alive." And finally, Private Kang Ji-woo, the youngest of them all, barely 20 years old. He was shaking with fear, but he stood up anyway. "I can hack their systems. I can help." They took a small assault shuttle. It was meant for security work, not combat missions against demons. But it was fast and quiet. As they flew toward the demon scout ship, Do-hyun gathered his team. "The demons have never faced humans in combat," he said. They expect us to freeze in terror like every other species. They expect us to give up. That's their weapon. Fear. But here's the thing. He looked at each of them. We're already afraid. Every single one of us. Can you feel it? They nodded. Of course they could feel it. Fear was crawling through their veins like ice water. Good, Do-Yun said. Because being afraid means you're smart. Only idiots aren't afraid of demons. But being afraid doesn't mean being helpless. Humans have been afraid since we lived in caves. We were afraid of the dark. Afraid of predators. Afraid of each other. And you know what we did? We kept going anyway. We built fires. We made weapons. We hunted the things that hunted us. Fear is just information. It tells you something is dangerous. It doesn't tell you to stop. The scout ship grew larger in their viewport. It was black and twisted, like something grown rather than built. It radiated wrongness. Remember, Yuna said, checking her weapon. Short bursts. Stay together. Trust each other. They docked silently. Jiwoo bypassed the airlock security in 30 seconds. The door hissed open and the smell hit them. Blood and smoke and something else. Something that made their minds want to run screaming. The first demon came around the corner and stopped in surprise. It had expected to find cowering prey. Instead, it found Sergeant Taio's weapon already firing. The demon fell. For a moment, everything was still. Then Do-Yun spoke into his communicator. All units, move. What followed was chaos. The demons were strong, fast, and terrifying. Their psychic attacks hammered at the humans' minds. Images of loved ones dying. Visions of endless torture. The promise of eternal suffering. But the humans didn't stop. Yuna shot a demon between the eyes, while tears streamed down her face from the visions it was forcing into her mind. Taiho roared and pushed forward, his weapon singing. Yoonji dragged a wounded Jiwoo behind cover, patched his wound, and then stood up to shoot the demon that was charging them. And Do-Yun led them all, calm on the outside, terrified on the inside, but moving forward. Always forward. They found the children in the cargo hold. 37 young Velhari huddled together, their large eyes filled with hope for the first time since their world had died. We're here to help, Yoonji said gently. Come with us. You're safe now. They fought their way back to the shuttle. 3 more demons tried to stop them. 3 more demons died. As they flew away, Do-Yun triggered the explosives Jiwoo had planted. The demon scout ship became fire and debris. Somewhere, in a palace of shadows, Archman Malachar received the report. A human team had attacked a demon ship. Had killed demons. Had won. For the first time in 3,000 years, Malachar felt something strange. Curiosity. What were these humans? And why didn't they break like everything else? He would find out. And he would teach them to fear properly. But deep down, in a place he would never admit existed, Malachar felt something else. Something that almost felt like the first whisper of worry. The humans were different. And different was dangerous. The Pale Council met in the heart of the demon homeworld. 7 ancient demons sat in a circle of shadow, their forms shifting and terrible. They had ruled conquered galaxies for millennia. They had broken countless species. And now they were confused. Explain this to me again, said the eldest council member, his voice like grinding stones. The humans felt fear. Our scouts confirmed this. Their minds were flooded with terror. And yet they continued fighting? That is correct, Elder, reported the messenger, trembling before them. The humans experienced full psychological attack. They should have collapsed. They should have surrendered. Instead, they killed our warriors and escaped with the prisoners. Impossible, said another council member. Fear is the chain that binds all things. No creature can resist it. Perhaps, suggested a third, these humans are simply too primitive to understand what they should fear. Animals sometimes fight when they should run. Or perhaps, the eldest said slowly, they are insane. None of them considered the truth. None of them understood that humans had a different relationship with fear. That for humans, fear was an old companion, not a master far away on Earth. Captain Park Do-hyun stood before the United Earth Coalition Council. He expected to be punished for disobeying orders. Instead, the council looked at him with desperate hope. The Demon Imperium is redirecting forces toward human space, Admiral Song said. They want to make an example of us. We have perhaps 2 months before their main fleet arrives. We will not survive a direct war. Dawn waited. He knew there was more coming. There is one chance, the Admiral continued. The Kelmari Resistance. They are the only group still actively fighting the demons. They have survived for 60 years against the Imperium. They may know weaknesses we can exploit. Where are they? Do-hyun asked. Deep in demon-controlled space. Getting to them will be nearly impossible. But if anyone can do it, the Admiral looked at him. You've already proven you can fight demons and win. Will you go? Do-hyun didn't hesitate. We'll need supplies. And volunteers. His team was waiting for him when he returned. Lieutenant Yuna, Sergeant Taiho, Corporal Yoonji, and Private Jiwoo. They'd all chosen to come. They had all chosen to fly into the darkness again. Their ship was small and fast. It slipped through demon patrols and jumped between systems controlled by the Imperium. What they saw along the way changed them. On the first occupied world, they witnessed a harvest. Thousands of enslaved aliens kept in camps, their fear extracted like a resource. The demons walked among them, drinking in their terror. The prisoners were alive, but empty. Their eyes held nothing but despair. Corporal Yoonji watched from hiding, her hands covering her mouth. Tears ran down her face. How can they do this? How can anyone do this? Sergeant Taiho said nothing, but his grip on his weapon tightened until his knuckles went white. His face became stung. Something in him was changing, hardening. They moved on. They had no choice. They couldn't save everyone. Not yet. Private Jiwoo struggled the most. He was young, and the horrors they witnessed attacked his mind at night. He stopped sleeping well. He stopped making jokes. Lieutenant Yuna found him one night, sitting alone in the cargo bay, staring at nothing. I keep seeing their faces, he whispered. The ones we couldn't help. They looked at our ship as we passed. They hoped we would save them. And we just flew away. Yuna sat beside him. I see them too. We all do. How do you keep going? Because if we stop, if we fail, there won't be anyone left to save anyone. She put a hand on his shoulder. We carry the weight so others don't have to. That's what being a soldier means. During the long journey, Yuna asked Captain Do-hyun a question that had been burning in her mind. How do you do it? You're always so calm. Even when we were on that demon ship, surrounded by monsters, you never seemed afraid. Do-hyun laughed softly. It was not a happy sound. I'm terrified all the time, Yuna. Every single moment. I'm afraid of dying. Afraid of failing. Afraid of losing any of you. The fear never stops. Then how? He was quiet for a long moment. Humans evolved on a death world. Do you know that? Earth was filled with predators. Things that could eat us, poison us, crush us. We were small and weak and afraid. And somehow, we became the dominant species. Not because we stopped being afraid. Because we learned to act anyway. Fear became our tool. It made us careful. It made us clever. It made us work together. Being afraid doesn't mean you can't be brave. It means you understand what you're risking. They reached Kalmari territory after 3 weeks of running and hiding. The Kalmari were insectoid beings, tall and angular, with too many eyes. Their leader, a scarred warrior named Vrek, met them with suspicion. "Humans," Vrek said, "we have heard of your little fight. One scout ship. You think that makes you warriors?" "We're not here to impress you," Do-Yoon replied. "We're here to learn how to fight. And maybe help you fight better." Vrek made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. Many species have said such things. Then they face real demons and they break. Your species is no different. You are soft. You are young. You will fail. "Test us," Do-Yoon said simply. So Vrek did. He dropped Black Dawn in a demon hunting ground, a cursed forest on a conquered moon where demons came to hunt prey for sport. "Survive until dawn," Vrek told them. "Then we will talk." The night was endless. The shadows moved. The demons came. They came hungry and confident. They expected prey that would run and hide and eventually surrender. They expected the sweet taste of terror and submission. Instead, they found humans. Private Jiwoo activated his jamming equipment, disrupting the demons' psychic network. For the first time, the demons couldn't coordinate. They couldn't share information. They were alone in the dark. Now the humans were the hunters. Sergeant Taiho became something terrible that night. He moved through the forest like a ghost made of violence. Demons fell before him. His grief for his lost family, his rage at everything he had witnessed, it all poured out. But it was controlled, focused. Deadly. Lieutenant Yuna positioned herself high and picked off demons with precision shots. Her hands shook between each trigger pull. Her fear was a living thing inside her. But her aim was perfect. Corporal Yoonji saved 3 lives that night, dragging wounded teammates to safety, patching holes in bodies that should have stopped working. She fought her own battles too, when demons got too close, and Captain Do-Hyun led them all. He was everywhere, giving orders, watching their backs, holding the line. When a massive demon nearly killed Jiwoo, Do-Hyun stepped between them and fought it hand to hand. He was thrown against a tree. He got up. He was clawed across the chest. He got up. He kept fighting until Taiho arrived to finish the creature. When dawn came, 12 demon bodies lay in the forest. Black Dawn was battered, bloody, exhausted, and alive. Vrek found them at sunrise. He looked at the demon corpses. He looked at the humans. He made that clicking sound again, but this time it sounded different, respectful. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "you are not like the others. We're human," Do-Yoon said, leaning on Yuna for support because his legs were failing. "We do things differently." The alliance was formed that day, and Vrek told them a secret that changed everything. "The demons have a source of power," he said. "A homeworld called Nethervoid. Destroy it, and their psychic network falls. Their ability to harvest fear collapses. They become just monsters. Killable monsters. Where is it?" Yuna asked. "Hidden in another dimension. Heavily guarded. No one has ever gotten close." Do-Hyun looked at his team. Broken, bleeding, barely standing. And every single one of them nodded. "We'll find a way," he said. "That's what humans do." War Prince Vorthek had never known defeat. For 2,000 years, he had led demon armies across the stars. He had crushed empires. He had broken heroes. He had made entire species kneel before him and beg for the mercy of slavery instead of death. Now Archman Malachar had given him a simple task. Destroy the humans. Make them an example. Show the galaxy that no one could resist the Demon Imperium. Vorthik expected it would take a week. He was wrong. The demon invasion came to human space with overwhelming force. Thousands of ships. Millions of demon warriors. Psychic attacks that could shatter minds from orbit. The 12 human colonies should have fallen in days. On the colony world of Gumho, the demons landed expecting surrender. Instead, they found a farmer named Old Man Beak standing in front of his home with a hunting rifle. His hands were shaking. His eyes were wet with tears. But he raised his weapon and fired. He died moments later. But by then, 30 other farmers had joined him. Then 100. Then 1,000. The demons had to fight for every street, every building, every room. And everywhere they went, they found more humans who should have surrendered but didn't. On the industrial world of Kyogang, factory workers melted down their machinery to make weapons. Children as young as 12 carried ammunition to fighting positions. Grandmothers made bombs in their kitchens. When the demons captured the capital city, the survivors retreated underground and kept fighting. On the agricultural world of Naru, the colonists flooded their own fields, poisoned their own crops, and burned their own homes rather than let the demons have them. Then they picked up weapons and disappeared into the forests. Demon patrols went in. They did not come out. Vorthik studied reports that made no sense. The humans felt fear. Every scanner confirmed it. Their bodies flooded with stress hormones. Their minds screamed with terror. They knew they would die. And they fought anyway. He needed to understand. So he began taking prisoners. The first was a soldier, a young woman who had killed 12 demons before being captured. Vorthik personally entered her cell. He poured fear into her mind, images of eternal torment, visions of everyone she loved dying in agony. She screamed. She cried. She begged. But she did not break. When he demanded she tell him about human military positions, she looked at him with red eyes and said, "Go to hell." He killed her. But her face haunted him. The second prisoner was a teacher who had led children to safety during an attack. Vorthik showed her images of those children being tortured. She collapsed. She howled with grief and terror. She was completely destroyed by fear. And then she attacked him with her bare hands. She knew she couldn't hurt him. She knew she would die. She attacked anyway. He killed her too. But he didn't understand. The third prisoner finally gave him something. An old man, a simple farmer with dirt under his fingernails and white hair on his head. Vorthik spent hours working on him, peeling away layers of his mind, finding every fear, every weakness. The old man was broken. His mind was shattered. And yet, in the ruins of his consciousness, Vorthik found something strange. The human was afraid, but the fear was not alone. It lived alongside other things. Love for his family, pride in his community, hope for the future, stubbornness that had no logical source. "Why do you resist?" Vorthik demanded. "You know you cannot win. You know we will break you. Why not surrender?" The old man looked at him with empty eyes. But somehow, impossibly, he smiled. "We've been scared our whole lives," he whispered. "Of the dark. Of death. Of each other. Of being alone. You're just another thing to be scared of. And we learned a long time ago that being scared doesn't mean you stop." Vorthik killed him. But the words stayed with him. Meanwhile, Captain Do-hyun had returned from Kalmari space with critical intelligence and a new mission. His team, now called Black Dawn, was assigned to the defense of Taihan Colony, one of humanity's oldest settlements. The battle for Taihan was the largest human-demon engagement yet. 300,000 colonists against a demon army that had destroyed entire civilizations. The fighting lasted 8 days. On the third day, Lieutenant Yuna took a demon blade through her shoulder while protecting an evacuation shuttle full of children. The blade was poisoned. Her blood turned black in her veins. She should have died. Corporal Yoonji refused to let her. For 40 hours straight, Yoonji worked on Yuna's poisoned body. She invented new treatments on the spot. She used alien medical knowledge they had gathered from the Kelmari. She refused to sleep, refused to eat, refused to stop. When other medics told her it was hopeless, she threw them out of her surgery room. On the 40th hour, Yuna's heart stopped. Yunji beat on her chest. She screamed at her friend to wake up. She shocked her again and again. Yuna's eyes opened. She looked at Yunji and said, "Did we win yet?" Yunji collapsed next to her and laughed until she cried. The battle ended on the 8th day. Humanity lost 2 colonies, including Yumho, where Old Man Beak had fired the first shot. But Tan held. For the first time in recorded history, a major demon offensive had been completely stopped. Vorthik requested a meeting with Captain Dohyun. They met on neutral ground, a dead moon between battle lines. Dohyun came alone, against the advice of everyone who cared about him. Vorthik came alone because he didn't need guards. He had never needed guards. The Demon Prince was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with shadows that moved independently of his body and eyes that burned like dying stars. He radiated terror so powerful that most beings would collapse simply by looking at him. Dohyun's knees wanted to buckle. His mind wanted to run. Every cell in his body was screaming that he would die here. He stood straight and met Vorthik's gaze. "You are the one they call Black Dawn," Vorthik said. His voice was like thunder and broken glass. "You killed my scouts. You trained with the Kelmari. You held Tan." "I had help," Dohyun replied. His voice was steady. He had no idea how. Vorthik circled him slowly, studying him the way a predator studies unusual prey. "I have broken thousands of species. I have seen every kind of courage and defiance. It always ends the same way. They break. Maybe. You will break too. You are afraid. I can taste it. Yes." Vorthik stopped. "You admit it?" "Of course I'm afraid." Dohyun looked at the monster before him. "You're terrifying. You're powerful. You've conquered half the galaxy. Only an idiot wouldn't be afraid of you. Then why do you fight?" Dohyun was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Because I'm also a lot of other things. I'm angry. I'm stubborn. I love my people. I want my species to survive. Fear is just one voice in my head. It doesn't get to make all the decisions." Vorthik considered this. He had never met a species that thought this way. Fear was supposed to be absolute. Fear was supposed to rule everything. "I am offering you a choice," Vorthik said finally. "Surrender now. Submit to the Imperium. Your species will be slaves, but you will survive. Refuse, and I will bring such destruction upon you that the galaxy will forget humanity ever existed." Dohyun thought about his crew, about the colonists who had fought and died, about Old Man Beak and his hunting rifle, about Yuna nearly dying to save children she had never met. "We didn't crawl out of the mud, survive ice ages, plagues, and ourselves just to bow to you," he said. "Find another species to enslave. Humanity is not available." He turned and walked away. His back was to a demon war prince. Every step could be his last. His fear was a living thing trying to choke him. He kept walking. Vorthik watched him go. Then he returned to Malachar with an unprecedented recommendation. "Grant them extinction," he said. "They are too dangerous to enslave." Malachar refused. "If we destroy them quickly, the galaxy will think we were afraid. We must break them. We must make them kneel. Then we will have peace for another 1,000 years." Vorthik wanted to argue. For the first time in his existence, he wanted to say that maybe the Imperium had finally found something they couldn't defeat. But he said nothing. He was a war prince. He followed orders. The true war was about to begin. 2 years of war had changed the galaxy. Humanity had become legend. Across demon-controlled space, enslaved species whispered about the beings who fought demons and won. They shared stories of the Battle of Taihan. They spoke of Captain Do-yoon, who had stood before a war prince and refused to bow. They dreamed of freedom. The Pale Council was in chaos. Some members wanted to destroy humanity at any cost, even if it meant burning 100 worlds. Others argued that the war was already lost in the minds of their slaves, that fighting humanity had weakened the Imperium in ways that couldn't be measured. For Do-yoon and Black Dawn, there was only one path forward. The mission they had been preparing for since that night in the Kelmari forest. The strike on Nethervoid. Black Dawn had grown. No longer just 5 soldiers. They were now 20 of humanity's finest warriors. Each one had been tested. Each one had faced demons and survived. Each one had made peace with the fact that this mission was almost certainly a one-way trip. They gathered on a hidden Kelmari station at the edge of known space. Lieutenant Yuna was there, her shoulder still scarred from the demon poison, but her aim as perfect as ever. Sergeant Taiho was there, now a living legend among both humans and Kelmari, a man who demons fled from by reputation alone. Corporal Yunji was there, carrying medical equipment and the biological weapons she had developed from studying demon bodies. Private Jiwoo was there, no longer a frightened young man but a hardened soldier who still sometimes found wonder in the universe. Do-hyun looked at his people, his family. "I'm not going to give a pretty speech," he said. "You know what we're facing. Nethervoid is the heart of demon power. It exists in a dimension that overlaps with ours. The Kelmari have found a way in, but they've never been able to get close to the core. Every species that has tried has died." No one spoke. They already knew this. The demon's psychic network is anchored there. Their ability to harvest fear, to coordinate across the galaxy, to create new demons, it all comes from Nethervoid. If we destroy it, we don't just win this war. We set the galaxy free. And if we fail? Someone asked. Then we become another story of a species that tried to fight demons and died. Do-hyun smiled slightly. But we'll be a good story. And maybe the next species will learn from our mistakes and do better. The journey to Nethervoid was a nightmare. The dimensional barrier was not meant for living things. Passing through it felt like being torn apart and put back together wrong. The soldiers screamed. Some of them simply stopped existing, pulled into the space between dimensions. 12 made it through the barrier. 8 did not. What waited on the other side was worse. Nethervoid was a world of eternal darkness. There was no sun, no stars, no light except what the team brought with them. The ground was made of something that looked like stone, but pulsed with a faint heartbeat. The air smelled of blood and despair. And everything was designed to create fear. The darkness moved. Shadows took shapes from the soldiers' minds. They saw dead friends calling to them. They heard loved ones screaming for help. They felt hands reaching from the ground to pull them down. "Stay together," Do-hyun ordered. "Remember, none of it is real. It's just the planet trying to feed on us." They moved forward. But Nethervoid wasn't done with them. The planet began separating them. One by one, soldiers found themselves alone in the darkness, facing their worst nightmares made flesh. Sergeant Taiho found himself surrounded by his family, his wife, his children, the ones he had lost to pirates years ago. They stood before him, rotting and ruined, their eyes accusing. "You couldn't save us," they said with one voice. "You were too weak, too slow. You let us die." Taiho fell to his knees. The guilt he had carried for years wrapped around him like chains. "You're right," he whispered. "I couldn't save you. I failed." The nightmares moved closer, ready to consume him. Then Taiho raised his head. "But I didn't stop fighting. Every demon I kill is for you. Every life I save is in your memory. You're gone, but I'm still here. And I'm going to burn this place to the ground. He stood up, raised his weapon, and walked through the illusions. They scattered like smoke. Corporal Yunji faced a different nightmare. She stood in an endless hospital ward, filled with every patient she had ever lost. They lined up before her, showing their wounds, their diseases, their dying eyes. "You couldn't save us," they said. "Your hands weren't skilled enough. Your medicine wasn't good enough. You let us slip away." Yunji trembled. She was a healer. Every death she witnessed had left a scar on her soul. "I did everything I could," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I tried so hard. Not hard enough. Never hard enough." She almost gave in. The weight of all that loss pressed down on her. But then she thought of Lieutenant Yuna, whose heart she had restarted with her bare hands. She thought of the soldiers she had pulled back from death tonight. "I couldn't save everyone," Yunji said. "But I saved some. And every life I save matters. I'm not perfect. I'm not God. I'm just a woman who refuses to let death win without a fight." She walked forward. The nightmares faded. Private Jiwoo found himself in absolute darkness, completely alone. No equipment. No teammates. Nothing but empty space stretching forever in all directions. "You're nothing," a voice whispered. It was his own voice. "You're the youngest. The weakest. You're only here because they felt sorry for you. When you die, no one will remember your name." Jiwoo curled into a ball. He had always feared being forgotten, being meaningless, being alone. "They don't need you. They never needed you." "Maybe," Jiwoo whispered. Then, louder, "Maybe I'm not the strongest. Maybe I won't be remembered for 1,000 years. But I'm here. I'm part of this team. I matter to them. And that's enough." Light appeared in his hand. His equipment. He had been holding it all along. Lieutenant Yuna faced herself. A perfect copy, standing before her with empty eyes. "You're not enough," the copy said. "You're second in command. Always second. Never the leader. Never the hero. Just the assistant. Just the backup." "That's true," Yuna said calmly. The copy seemed surprised. "You admit it?" "Of course. I'm not Doyeon. I don't need to be. I'm Yuna. I'm the one who makes sure he stays alive. I'm the one who holds the line when he leads the charge. I'm the one these soldiers trust to bring them home. Being second isn't weakness. It's where I belong." She raised her weapon. "Now get out of my way. I have a job to do." And Captain Do-hyun faced the worst nightmare of all. He stood in a field of corpses. Every soldier who had ever died under his command. Every colonist he couldn't save. Every person who had trusted him and paid the price. They rose, surrounding him. "You led us to death," they said. "You asked us to be brave. You told us fear wouldn't stop us. And we died. We died because of you." Do-hyun had no defense against this. Because it was true. "You're right," he said. "You died because of me. Because of decisions I made. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Then give up. Stop fighting. Stop leading others to death." "I can't." "Why?" He looked at the faces of the dead. "Because if I stop, their deaths mean nothing. If I surrender, the demons win, and everything we sacrificed becomes pointless. The only way I can honor you is to finish this. To make sure no one else has to die the way you did." He walked through the corpses. They reached for him, but they couldn't hold him. One by one, Black Dawn reunited. They found each other in the darkness, drawn together by something stronger than fear. They were broken, bleeding, exhausted. But they were together. And before them rose the core of Nethervoid. The heart of darkness. It was a sphere of pure shadow, pulsing with stolen fear from a million worlds. It was the source of everything the demons were. And standing before it, waiting for them, was War Prince Vorthak. "I knew you would come," he said, his voice echoing across the dark plain. "I wanted to see the end myself." Do-hyun stepped forward. "Then, let's end it." The heart of darkness pulsed behind War Prince Vorthak like a second sun made of shadows. Its power flooded the battlefield, amplifying fear 1,000-fold. Every terror that had touched Black Dawn during their journey through Nethervoid returned at once, 1,000 times stronger. Soldiers who had faced their nightmares and won now faced them again. Some fell to their knees. Some screamed. The weight of absolute fear pressed down on them like a physical force. Vorthak had brought his personal guard. 12 elite demons who had each destroyed entire civilizations. They spread out, surrounding the humans, hungry for the feast of terror they could taste in the air. "This is where your story ends," Vorthak said. He looked at Do-hyun with something that might have been respect. "You fought, well, better than any species in 3,000 years. But all things break eventually." "Maybe," Do-hyun said. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. "Let's find out." What happened next was not a battle. It was a desperate, ugly fight for survival. Sergeant Taiho became a wall of violence, holding back 3 demon elites at once. His weapon sang death, but even he couldn't stop them all. Claws tore his arm. Shadows burned his flesh. He kept fighting. Lieutenant Yuna moved through the chaos like a ghost, her rifle finding targets with impossible precision. But her hands were shaking so badly she missed shots she should have made. Tears ran down her face from the fear flooding her mind. She kept shooting. The other soldiers of Black Dawn fought and died around them. One by one, they fell, each death buying precious seconds for the mission. And while the battle raged, Corporal Yoonji and Private Jiwoo worked on the heart of darkness itself. Yoonji had spent 2 years studying demon biology. She understood how they fed on fear, how they transmitted it across distances, how they were connected to each other. She had developed a biological weapon specifically for this moment, a poison that would corrupt the heart's ability to process fear. Jiwoo had spent those same years studying demon technology. He understood their psychic network, their dimensional anchors, their energy signatures. He had built a device that could crack the heart's defenses, even if only for a moment. But they needed time. And time was measured in lives. Captain Do-hyun walked toward Vorthak. The War Prince was amused. "One human against me? I have killed armies single-handed. What do you hope to accomplish?" "I'm buying time," Do-hyun said simply. Then he attacked. It was madness. Vorthak was 3 meters of shadow and muscle and ancient power. Do-hyun was one human with a combat knife and a sidearm. The fight should have lasted seconds. It lasted much longer. Do-hyun was afraid. Every cell in his body wanted to run. Vorthak's presence alone was enough to break most minds. But Do-hyun had lived with fear his entire life. He had learned to move through it like water through stone. He dodged the first blow by centimeters. He fired at Vorthak's eyes, forcing the demon to shield himself. He slashed with his knife, drawing a thin line of black blood. Vorthak was surprised. And surprise made him careless. The fight became a dance of desperation. Do-hyun took hits that should have killed him. Vorthak threw him against rocks, clawed his chest, shattered his ribs. And Do-hyun got back up. Again and again, he got back up. "Why won't you die?" Vorthak demanded, genuine confusion in his voice. "Because my people need me to live a little longer," Do-hyun gasped through broken ribs. "Because Yuna is watching and I can't let her down. Because every second I fight is a second closer to victory." Vorthak struck him again. Do-hyun flew through the air and landed badly. Something in his back snapped. He couldn't feel his legs. The War Prince stood over him, ready to deliver the killing blow. "You were brave," Vorthik admitted. "In another life, you might have been a worthy opponent. But this is where it ends." Behind him, Jiwoo's voice cut through the chaos. "Got it. Defenses are down." Vorthik turned. Yoonji was injecting something directly into the heart of darkness. The sphere shuddered. Cracks of light appeared on its surface. The war prince roared and charged toward them. Yuna stepped into his path. Her rifle was empty. Her knife was in her hand. She was shaking so badly she could barely stand. But she stood between Vorthik and her team. "Move," Vorthik commanded, his psychic power crashing against her mind like a tidal wave. Yuna's nose bled. Her ears bled. Her eyes leaked red tears. She didn't move. "You are nothing," Vorthik snarled. "A broken human too stubborn to admit she's already dead." "That's exactly what I am," Yuna whispered. And she smiled. Behind her, the heart of darkness exploded. The light was blinding. Pure white burning light that had never touched this world of shadows. It poured from the shattered sphere in waves, and where it touched demons, they burned. The elite guards vanished. The shadows that made up Nethervoid screamed and retreated. The psychic network that connected demons across the galaxy shattered like glass. Across 1,000,000 worlds, demons suddenly found themselves alone, cut off from each other, unable to feed on fear across distances, unable to create new demons, unable to coordinate. For the first time in 3,000 years, they were just monsters. Powerful monsters, but mortal, killable. Vorthik felt the connection break. He felt the heart's power drain from him. And for the first time in his existence, he felt something he had never felt before. Fear. His own fear. Fear of death. Fear of defeat. Fear that everything he had built for millennia was crumbling. He looked at Do-hyun, broken on the ground but still conscious. He looked at Yuna, barely standing but unbroken. He looked at the ruins of the heart of darkness. And he ran. The war prince of the Demon Imperium, the undefeated terror of 1,000 worlds, fled from a handful of humans who should have been nothing but prey. Nethervoid was collapsing. Without the heart, the dimension itself was failing. Taiho grabbed Do-hyun despite his own injuries. Yoonji and Jiwoo supported Yuna. The surviving soldiers carried their dead. They ran for the dimensional barrier. Of the 12 who had reached Nethervoid, 8 made it out. They emerged into normal space, into a galaxy that was already changing. The Kalmari were receiving reports from across demon territory. Slave populations were rising up. Demon armies were in chaos. Species that had been conquered for centuries were finally fighting back. And everywhere, the story was spreading. Humans had destroyed Nethervoid. Humans had broken the demon empire. Humans had won. 6 months later, Admiral Park Do-hee stood on the bridge of humanity's new flagship, looking at the stars. He still walked with a cane. His back would never fully heal. Some nights, he still woke screaming from nightmares of Nethervoid. But he was alive. And humanity was free. Lieutenant Yuna stood beside him, as she always did. She had received offers to command her own ship, lead her own division. She had refused them all. "I belong here," she had said simply. "Second in command. Watching your back." Behind them, the crew worked quietly. Sergeant Taiho was training a new generation of soldiers, teaching them that fear was a tool, not a master. Corporal Yoonji was revolutionizing medical science with what she had learned about demon biology. Private Jiwoo was no longer private anything. He ran humanity's entire intelligence network, finding other species who needed help. The war wasn't over. Archman Malachar had retreated to rebuild, and the Pale Council still commanded billions of demons. There would be more battles, more sacrifices, more fear, but everything was different now. The galaxy knew that demons could be beaten. Enslaved species were free for the first time in memory. And humanity, small and young and afraid, had become something else entirely. Hope made manifest. Yuna broke the silence. Was it worth it? Do-hyun thought about the soldiers who had died on Nethervoid, about the colonists who had fallen on a dozen worlds, about Old Man Beak and his hunting rifle, standing alone against demons, because someone had to be first. Then he thought about the refugee children they had saved in that first battle, about the colonies that still stood, about the species now free because humans refused to surrender. We're human, he said finally. We don't stop being afraid. We just don't let it stop us. Yuna nodded. She understood. Somewhere in the darkness, Archman Malachar was plotting revenge. Somewhere, War Prince Vorthik was nursing his shame and rage. Somewhere, the Pale Council was scheming to restore their empire. Let them scheme. Let them plot. Let them come. Humanity would be waiting, afraid, as always, and fighting anyway, because that was what humans did.